All right, thanks for tuning in to the OFN Today with Mark Lawrence of Covers.com for this Friday, the 8th of November, 2013. 2013. Take two. No. 2019 on the Ourlads Football Radio Network at ourlads.com, the king of online football depth charts and college football scouting. The OFN Today is brought to you in part by Covers.com. Make sure to visit Covers Experts at experts.covers.com. And you could take 50% off any purchase by using the promo code PRIME50. That's PRIME50. Mark, good to have you back.
Nice to be back, Greg, after a bye week last week. Looking forward to what we've got on tap in the NFL this week.
How are you after buys?
I've been pretty good off the bye. The bye gets you a little bit rested up. In fact, I don't know if we're going to talk about this game or not, but I'm also going to look for some improvement from some of these bye teams this week, particularly the Cincinnati Bengals, who couldn't get any worse.
Yeah, the Bengals. Now, the Bengals are going to a rookie quarterback. So that's tricky because I know your philosophy on going with the backups the first game. But he is a rookie, and he's a second-rounder, and the Bengals are terrible. And they're taking on a Baltimore team that just beat New England. But the Bengals have covered 4 straight against Baltimore, and this could be described as one of your prototypical sandwich games. So 10 points is it's a lot of points to give up on the road in a divisional contest. I get the suspicion that you might like the Bengals in this one.
Yeah, I do like the Bengals this week, Greg. In fact, in the Playbook newsletter this week, I wrote a Bet You Didn't Know column, and it's titled "Nothing Sure Looks Good on You." Nothing being no wins for Cincinnati, and the role that they're in off the bye week. These winless teams off the bye week have done absolutely terrific. One, they get a little extra time to get their act together, and two, the opponents often tend to play down to their level. And you've got Baltimore, I think, in a prime position to play down to anybody's level after beating New England last week.
Okay. All right, let's go into the games that we disagree and agree on, and we'll start with the disagreement. In a game that initially I was, all right, the Chiefs are going to get Mahomes back. It's 6 points, but we're only talking a touchdown. That's not a lot in my mind when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs have also covered 7 straight games on the road when they have revenge on their minds. And, of course, they lost to the Titans in the playoffs in 2017 at home. We all remember that debacle, which was really the end of Alex Smith. So Patrick Mahomes might look at that game as a blessing for him. But I don't know. I kind of look at Tennessee. They're usually good in this spot as a home dog or a dog in general, especially when you kind of just forget about them and think they are a dog. They beat the Patriots last year as a 6-point home dog. So I think they've got one more maybe dog game in them. They know this is it. They lose this game, chances of playoffs are pretty low. So and I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to be healthy. I think he's going to be healthy-ish, but I don't think he's going to be completely healthy. So I'm going to go ahead and take Tennessee. This is going to be I think this might be my lone upset of the week.
Well, I'm not going to be with you on the upset, but I'm not going to also be backing Kansas City with both hands or both fists here either, largely because of the uncertainty there was when we went to press with this game about Patrick Mahomes. It's pretty much been confirmed that he's going to be the quarterback this week, which has also pumped up the line this week. And I can say this, I do know for a fact that when Vegas put that line out, they put it out in anticipation of Mahomes playing. Mm-hmm. And he is indeed playing, and it's run up since then. So anything that's run up since then is only adding value to the Tennessee side of the equation there. And I'm not going to chase that with Kansas City in this particular spot. But I do know this. It is revenge for Kansas City. They're on the non-division road, and they're taking on a 600 or less opponent. The last 8 times they've been in this role, they've gone 8-0 straight up and against the spread. I'm not a big Ryan Tannehill fan by any means. I think he'll end up quarterbacking this team until he loses the job. And before the end of the season, I predict we will see Marcus Mariota back behind center for Tennessee.
It's bad news for Titans fans. By the way, last year, let's keep in mind, Kansas City next week will be in Mexico to take on the Chargers. Last year, before the whole we're going to Mexico, no, we're going to the Rams to play in L.A. craziness, that look-ahead situation, which does come into play. Everybody's wondering about Mexico and plans to go to Mexico, and hey, are we going to get shot in the bus on the way to the game? And that's a lot to take in. Last year, they had one of their ugliest wins of the year when they beat Arizona at home. They did not cover that game, and that was a bad Arizona team. And they covered the game. Actually, they did not cover the game, but they actually had a lead of like 4, and it went to 11 in the fourth quarter. That's how ugly it was. So maybe we'll get another ugly performance from the Chiefs this week as they have a distraction and hoping that they don't get shot next week.
Well, you may just do that. What Kansas City is going to have to do fundamentally is be able to find a way to put up a rush defense that's better than paper mache, because their rush defense is horrible. They allow 4.6 yards a carry, and basically teams that can run have run against Kansas City. So that will be, I'm pretty sure, Tennessee's MO, their plan of attack in this particular football game. So we'll see if Mahomes makes the difference or not for this Kansas City football team. If he does, you're going to hear a lot of chatter about Kansas City moving forward.
Hey, all I know is if I'm on the bus going to the game anywhere near the streets of Mexico, I'm going to make sure I sit next to Tyreek Hill. Because as long as I sit next to Tyreek Hill, I think I have a shot. No pun intended. I think this is a guy I want to back me in a street fight. I don't know. Maybe it won't work because we're not talking about women. We're talking about men with guns. But I think Tyreek Hill is the guy that I want to walk next to on my way to the game in Mexico. All right.
You have to keep up a quick pace with him because he'll be the first one out of there faster than lightning.
Probably.
If he spots danger.
Yeah,
yes.
I would think so. You're right about that. Now, there are 2 games that we both agree on that are I kind of put them into I think I have them both as 3-star picks this week. And that's Buffalo and Detroit both getting 2.5 on the road. And to me, the reasons are the same. At least for me, they are. You got this Cleveland situation. Look, take a key from Florida State getting rid of Willie Taggart. What is Cleveland doing not firing Kitchens? Don't they realize this guy is not going to be their head coach next year already? This guy's terrible. I mean, it's just a joke right now what's going on there with the Browns. The guy can't coach. You got a Buffalo team that's getting absolutely no respect, getting points against this Cleveland team. That they lose to the Denver Broncos with a quarterback that should not be even on the field in the NFL, and that's just a disgrace. And then you got Chicago. What in the world are the Bears doing with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback? The guy is done. He's mentally done. I thought they were at least get another year out of him, comparing him to Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez is going to end up a better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky when it's all said and done. This guy is just bad right now. I don't care what his percentage was last week. He can't make any big throws.
Yeah, perhaps arguably one of the biggest mistakes in National Football League draft history was when Chicago opted to take him ahead of Deshaun Watson and ahead of Patrick Mahomes.
Traded up to get him.
Traded up to do so.
Yes.
Okay.
A guy who had 1.5 years of experience at North Carolina. I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't either. He looked good on film at North Carolina, but there wasn't a lot of playing experience there, and they ended up having to pay for that decision unquestionably. As far as the Bears go, I'll get back to the Browns game in just a second, but as far as the Bears are concerned, I can't back them for 2 reasons. Number one, in my database, National Football League teams that are on a 0-4 straight up and ATS losing slide in their last 4 football games, 0-4 straight up ATS exact, straight up and ATS, are terrible as favorites.
Okay. That's both Cleveland and Chicago are in the same role.
Well, you've got also another team in that role this particular week. There's 3. I believe there's 3 teams in the National Football League doing just that.
Really? Okay.
Yes, and as far as the
Tampa
Detroit
Bay
Lions
is the
are
other
concerned,
one. Tampa Bay is the other one.
Tampa Bay, yes. And as far as Detroit is concerned, they have over 100 yards of better offense in this game. You have to put up yards and points to win football games in the National Football League.
Yeah.
With Chicago is finding out the hard way they can't do it and not put up points. Number two, Detroit has really dominated bad football teams. They can't beat the big boys, but they can surely beat up on the little guys. They're 11-1 to the spread the last 12 games against teams with a losing record
Mm.
are the Detroit Lions. I think they have the better numbers across the board in this football game, and I think Chicago's woes continue in this contest.
Yeah, the Bills, by the way, is their first road game since October the 6th, but they're 3-0 straight up and against the spread on the road this year. And again, you got a Browns team just like Chicago, 0-4 straight up ATS last four. But I'm gonna go against you in the Tampa game. So look, I'd be happy if you went 2-1 with that trend. Uh, right with Buffalo and Detroit, but wrong with Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay game to me, I look, they've been losing, but at least unlike Chicago and Cleveland, they try hard and they are not losing because they aren't at least at times playing well. Bruce Arians is still a very good coach. They're just not talented enough to win some of these games. But they're getting. I mean, Seattle had to come back late to beat them in overtime. So that one was they escaped by not covering that game because Seattle, of course, took the ball and scored a touchdown on their drive. Also, let's keep in mind this is a reunion for Bruce Arians. So maybe there'll be some extra juice for the players to want to make sure that Arians kicks Arizona's ass on Sunday. So I'm going to actually take Tampa Bay and give the 4 in that one.
Okay, well, I will be against you in that football game there as well. I just don't like backing losing teams in losing streaks that were underdogs and now are suddenly laying points. Arizona hasn't played all that well this year, but they've been competitive against bad football teams, and I think we might see just that case on Sunday.
Yeah, they've actually covered 3 out of 4 on the road, Arizona has.
Yes.
So this is not a big deal for them to have to go not only on the road, but on the East Coast at 1 o'clock. That hasn't affected them at all. First home game for Tampa Bay since September 22nd when they lost to the Giants. The Bucs are 0-2 straight up and against the spread at home. All right, go ahead. You going to say something, Mark?
No, I was going to say that it's been a long while between
Yeah.
drinks of water for Tampa Bay at home.
Right.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but nonetheless, they will be home. Maybe get a little bit too comfortable at home where they're not used to being.
Yeah, they're trying to break their home win maiden this year. They're still looking for their first home win of the season. Raiders had that long quest away from Oakland, and they've won their first 2 back home. Seattle and San Francisco on Monday night. This is a game that we're going to disagree on. And I kind of went back and forth on this because it's tough for me to go against Pete Carroll in this spot. He's covered 10 of 11 as a dog versus 500 or greater divisional opponent. And I can see, I get that, especially Russell Wilson Monday night. He usually performs well. But I don't know. San Francisco, everything is working for him right now. I'm a little bit concerned with Seattle's offense against San Francisco's defense. And these 2 teams haven't played yet this year. San Francisco still has a lot to prove that they're the best team in their division, and they get to prove to everybody on national TV that that's the case. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with the hot team and take San Francisco -6.
And I'll stay with the hot quarterback and Russell Wilson in this game, who's been outstanding, leading the league in passer rating this season and having arguably an MVP type year. Because of San Francisco's success, Seattle's taking a touchdown in this football game. If this game were played the first week of the season, Seattle would have been the favorite in this game.
Wow.
But with all of San Francisco's success, the fact that they're the only undefeated team in the league, hence the number has come pretty strong in their favor here. One thing working in your favor for San Francisco is the fact that home teams on Monday nights that are undefeated have been spectacular. They've been terrific. That's the role San Francisco will be in this particular contest. But they're absolute very best when they're laying less than 6 points in those particular games. I also like, as you mentioned, the Pete Carroll factor in this contest here. Pete Carroll is really an excellent football coach as an underdog, as is Russell Wilson. Cashed 8 in a row, Russell Wilson has taking points his last 8 tries as an underdog. Bottom line to me, this is a step-up game for San Francisco. They have to step up and prove that they belong in the elite status of the NFL.
That's right.
Seattle's been there, done that, and may end up being just that by season's end. So I'll put all the pressure on San Francisco and take the points with Seattle.
All right, now let's go to a game we agree on. Carolina getting 5.5 against the Packers. Packers just mailed it in. You could tell from the beginning of that game. See, there are some times that I think wagering on live games are good, and that was one of those situations. You could just tell in the first 5 minutes of that game that the Packers had mailed it in. It was going to be one of those road games that they just were not going to come ready to play. They were terrible. So I don't really care about what happened last week. This is more about Carolina. The Panthers have won 5 out of 6 straight up against the spread. The last time they were on a road, they were embarrassed, so they need to get that ugly memory out of the way. But, hey, I just like a really good football team in this spot getting 6 points. We've seen the road dog as a good cover spot this season, too. So I'm going to take Carolina plus the 6, and you agree with me on this one.
I do. I'm a little bit maybe not going all in with Carolina here for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think we're seeing the Kyle Allen show beginning to unravel. You take a look at his numbers here; they're getting progressively worse with each game, which means the league has game film on him, and suddenly they've got his tendencies down pretty good. Number two, you got Green Bay at home off a loss. They could be in a snarly mood. But to me, the bottom line is Green Bay has been winning games with smoke and mirrors this season. They're a 7-win football team that's being outyarded by, I believe, about 40 yards a game on the season here. You can't keep doing that. You can't keep winning games and being pushed around on the field. That's eventually going to catch up and bite you. So you got Green Bay playing some pretty sloppy football, being priced because of their record. I think this is a nice spot for Carolina to come in here and battle them tooth and nail. I've got whoever scores last winning this game.
All right, and then the last game is the game we disagree on, and I look. This is not surprising to me. I think I've been following you long enough to read you when I know what you're going to take certain games, and why not Pittsburgh? If you look at them, they've covered 13 of their last 14 as dogs versus winning teams. They're 1-0 in that spot this year. They are taking on a Ram team as a 3.5-point home dog. But I'm taking the Rams in this spot. To me, they're just a better team. They had a little extra time to prepare for the game. They have covered 4 straight games following rest. They're also 4-1 straight up, 4-0-1 against the spread on the road, or I should say away from home this year. And Pittsburgh has won just 1 game. They're 1-2 versus teams that had winning records at the time that they played them. The only win was last week in a game that the Colts just basically handed them. So I'm going to take the Rams, give the 3. You're taking the Steelers.
Well, the Rams are supposed to be a good team. The bottom line, the fact of the matter is they're not a good team. One, they have the Super Bowl loser hex, that black cloud over their head.
Yep.
Number two, go backwards on this team, if you will. Before they went to London, okay, and then beat up on a hapless team in London, I believe the win before that might have been against, was it Atlanta, another bad football team?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's 2 wins in a row by the Rams against 2 sisters of the poor in the National Football League. And prior to those 2 wins, they were struggling, especially in the secondary, where they were forced to go out and make a trade and bring Jalen Ramsey in to fortify that defensive secondary. I don't believe the Rams got healthy all of a sudden by powdering Atlanta and Cincinnati. They're going to play a Pittsburgh football team that right now started the season 0-3, has won their last 3 games in a row, feeling pretty confident about themselves. And you've also got in Pittsburgh here Mike Tomlin, who's played really, really well in his career as a home underdog. He's been in a home underdog role 14 times. He's only lost to the spread 2 times. These are roles where he tends to step up. Again, he's also terrific at home against the NFC West is Mike Tomlin. 7 times he's hosted those teams. He's beat them and covered 6 of those 7 football games. I think the momentum is with the team playing the better football right now, the home underdog, and that's why I'm on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And by the way, I like the Colts against Miami, especially if Brissett plays. The Colts are in a no no-nonsense game here following a loss because they have 3 divisional games coming up. So they got to just dispose of the Dolphins real quick in this one, which I believe they will. Even though the Dolphins are coming off a win and they've covered 4 straight, Ryan Fitzpatrick is overdue for one of his clunkers. I think we'll get that this week, especially with Preston Wilson, his top receiver, the rookie, out for the year. Colts have covered 9 straight games in the first of back-to-back home games, including doing it already twice this year. 11.5 is a big number, but like I said, coming off a loss, this is important for Colts to make sure this is not a close game in the fourth quarter.
I'm going to say that you're going to probably have to get this job done with Brian Hoyer, because the word I heard is Jacoby Brissett was not looking good in practice at all.
Do you think the line will go down?
Well, I don't think a whole lot. And the reason I'm going to say that is because this is a type of a football team that doesn't live and die on their quarterback. They're all about coaching, all about schemes. And I think Brian Hoyer fits into this offensive scheme as well as any backup quarterback could. So it could be an opportunity for him, that backup quarterback, getting the start, which we talk a lot about, rising to the occasion. Miami is a banged-up football team coming into this contest here. You mentioned Preston Williams. They've also got other key injuries in this football game. They've also won only 1 of the last 16 road games. They don't figure to win this game. The question is, can they hang around and cover this point spread? The only reason I think they possibly could, and I'm not saying they will, but they possibly could, is they're getting some pretty inspired play, if you will, out of the old Fitzmagic man. He's given this offense a little bit of spark and a little bit of life here, which we didn't see before. And I got to say also, I got to tip my hat a little bit here to Brian Flores, just from the standpoint that they are no longer in Vegas putting up ridiculous numbers on the Miami Dolphins like they did to start the season, when they were 23, 24-point dogs.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more respect for Miami these days here. So I can't back a wounded double-digit favorite, but I'm not going to back Miami in the game as well.
And by the way, one of my top picks this week is the Sunday night game. The Cowboys have been very good to me this season, and I'm sticking with them here as a 3-point favorite. Thielen's out for Minnesota. You can say what you want about Kirk Cousins beating the Eagles, and look, I can beat winning teams. Well, get this. Kirk Cousins is 0-7 straight up, 0-6-1 against the spread when he goes into the game as the underdog. So I like the Cowboys. They're only given 3 in this spot. The Vikings are 0-2 in the spot this year as a dog. And the Cowboys have covered 9 out of 10 at home off back-to-back straight-up ATS wins, including doing that once this year. Like I said, they've been very good to me this year, and I'm going to stick with them as one of my top picks, giving 3 on Sunday night.
Well, then you don't want to talk about Jason Garrett's horrible record as a home favorite, where he absolutely puked.
I know. But you've said that already this year. That's why they've actually.
I'm not going to beat that dead horse to death.
I know.
Okay?
No, I'm just saying. That's why this year I think that they have been different. They've actually been covering that late. I know the totality is still a big negative, no doubt about it. But they've been unusually good in this spot this year.
Dallas has also really struggled coming off a Monday night football game in which they won and covered against division rival New York Giants. 0-7 straight up and ATS at home in this particular role. You've got Minnesota coming in here when they've been coming off of a loss and taking on a 700 or greater opponent off a spread win. They've 8-0-1 against the spread. Too many good numbers for Minnesota here for me. I'm not a big, as you know, Jason Garrett fan, especially at home laying points. So I will be on the opposite side of the field of you in this game.
Yeah, come on. Just admit to everybody that you were in Mike Zimmer's wedding party. Come on, admit it.
Well, I've still got those pictures, and he let me keep this talk. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes on Sunday night between Dallas and Minnesota. And look, it's a big game for the Vikings because there's going to be a winning team that's not going to make the playoffs this year in the NFC because you got the Vikings battling Carolina, Green Bay. You don't know what's going to go on there. You got the Rams. You got Seattle. So there's only going to be one team in the East. Dallas has nothing to worry about. They're going to win the NFC East. But Minnesota's got a lot to worry about. They got to win football games.
I'm proud to say also that I did not bring up Mike Zimmer's terrific non-divisional record in this game.
Didn't.
I don't want
to. You didn't have to.
Okay, I'm sure it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there. We've got everything stashed in our library. All right, Mark, appreciate it. How's everything going with Playbook and also Covers.com?
Everything's going great. We've got all of our newsletter and our publications online at playbook.com. I've also got some big selections on tap on the site at covers.com for both my college and NFL top plays this week. Check them out.
By the way, what do you think about those two big college games tomorrow? I like the dog in both games.
I like the dog in both games as well. It's pressure squarely on the favorites in these football games as I see it. I think the biggest amount of pressure is on Penn State, who was elevated to number 4 in the playoff first ranking poll. But I was a little bit surprised to see that. I think that puts immense pressure on them. And I think Minnesota, PJ Fleck, is playing this to the max. He's a master motivator, and I think he can get the job done. Even though he hasn't played much of a schedule this year, I think he can take Penn State out of their game.
Mark, appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, my pleasure as always, Greg. Enjoy the games. Be well. I'll catch you next week.